and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of the Paul Brown Show. We're shooting live from 2 Expose You Studio. We have Mr. Daryl Goodman, he's the founder, Mr. Ray Harvey, chief engineer. I have as my special guest, and you saw in the video, Miss Charlotte Crumley Arrington. How you doing there, cuz?
I'm just wonderful. Thank you so much. It's happy to be here. So happy to see you. And so happy to be able to tell everybody about my books and what I'm doing.
Great. So tell the audience a little bit about yourself, Charlotte.
Well, I am from California. I'm a businesswoman. I'm a motivational speaker, an author, and a trainer, and also a life coach. And I've been doing this. I've been a motivator most of my life. Professionally, I've been doing it for the past 2 years. And I have 2 books that are out, which we'll talk about as the show goes on. One is The Message 108, and the other one is The Kissing Flight Attendant, which will be released on December 14th of this year. And on November 12th of this year, we'll be doing pre-orders. But we'll talk about all that as time goes on, I'm sure. But that's who I am.
Great. Okay, in the book, Message 108, you say doing what God put us here to do.
Yes.
How will we honestly know what God put us here to do?
Well, some people know instinctively. Some people know when they're born. You see people when they're very young, they already have a successful career. They're building a career. It's because they know that that's what their gift is. For some people, it just happens. For example, myself, I knew I always wanted to be a flight attendant. I knew that. But when I was in the 9th grade, I was given a speech for school elections to become the president of the school. And I remember after I gave my speech, how I felt is that everyone was just so quiet. And I left feeling full. It was like a spiritual full. And I never forgot that feeling. And as time went on, I realized that I liked speaking. I liked speaking in front of people. And also as time went on, I realized that was one of the number one fears people have is speaking in front of people, public speaking. But for me, it came natural. It comes natural. I love to do it. It makes me feel good. So at that point, I knew that that was one of my gifts, public speaking, speaking in front of people. And also over time, I knew that motivating was my gift. Also, I'm a good motivator. That's what I do. So it's something that just comes to you. Or either you just know it. Like I have a good friend. She's a professional singer. She was always singing. And now she's Grammy Award winning singer, one of the best singers in the world. So that's how you know. It just comes to you.
Does the activity always have to be positive when you're doing things? How about people like murderers, rapists, the criminal individuals in our society? Do you feel like they were placed here to do these types of things?
That's an excellent question. And I'm so glad you asked that question because that's something that I'm sure a lot of your listeners, your viewers, that they think about. And to me, it's sort of like, we have 2 voices in our head. We have a voice that is a negative voice and a voice that is a positive voice. We have to choose which voice we're going to follow. And you'll find that some of these people that do commit these horrendous crimes end up having a life-changing moment where they're able to say, through this, I was able to find my passion. I have a friend who's an author, and he was a big-time drug dealer. And he went to prison. And when he went to prison, he found his passion for writing. Now he's a bestseller author. He's a movie director, a movie producer. So from those terrible mistakes, people end up finding their true passion. Mm-hmm. I couldn't hear you. I can't hear your question. I can't hear you, Daryl.
Follow your dreams and they will come true. How do you follow your dreams when you have people in your life who doesn't want you to be successful?
There's always going to be people in your life that don't want you to be successful. Following your dream is an inside job. You have to believe first. If you believe, then everyone else will believe. And if they don't believe, it doesn't matter, because you have to do what you were put here to do. You have to do what makes you happy, what your passion is. You have to do it. Eventually, everyone else will get on board. Everyone else will start subscribing to what it is that you're passionate about and what it is that you're doing. And if those people around you aren't, that's okay, because there's millions of people in this world. So if you're using your gift, if you're following your dreams and your passion, the doors are going to open up for you. And what you're reaching for is going to happen. It takes time. For some people, it happens faster than others, but some people it happens, but it will happen. And that's what's most important. You just have to believe, and you just have to keep going after it. If it's education you need for your dream, then you need to get the education for it. It helps to reach out to somebody that is doing what you dream of doing, so that way you have their support and they can tell you and show you how to do it.
I know one of the hardest things is we kind of like get attached to those individuals, and we can't tell them that we have to get away from them, leave them on, we get in these relationships and we don't know how to walk away because of that situation. How long do you stay before you decide it's best for me to have to leave?
Well, I believe in the power of prayer, and I believe that you can pray people away. I've had people in my life that I knew toxic for me, that I knew didn't support me, and that I knew didn't believe in what I was doing. And it is hard to break away from some people, especially when you have those connections to them. But prayer is a powerful thing. And I always use prayer, and I always tell people, you can pray people away from you. Even if if you're the one that keeps going back, you just need to pray and ask God to keep that person from you. And eventually you'll look up one day and you guys are no longer in each other's lives. So I say the power of prayer.
What are some strategies when you were born and raised in a negative environment and only know about negative results in your family? How do you break that habit?
You have to consciously put yourself around people that are positive. You have to seek that out. You have to do the work. As with everything in following your dream and making changes in your life, you have to do the work. You have to consciously know and say to yourself, this environment that I'm in is not good for me. It's not helping me. It's not helping me get to where I need to go. What do I need to do? And again, power of prayer, where you have to get down on your knees and you have to ask God for what it is that you want and what it is that you need. And you have to believe. And eventually you'll find yourself around more positive people. If it's books, like my book, The Message 108, these type of things, read these books. I read a lot, and I read a lot of motivational books. I've always done that growing up, just so that I can get my mindset focused on following my dreams and what it is I want to do, and believing that it will happen for me. So I'm a big reader, so I encourage people to go out and get you some motivational books, people that you admire. You go to the library. You don't have to go to the bookstore. These books are in the library, and read about these people, and you'll see that a lot of these people come from backgrounds that are not completely positive, where they do have a lot of negative influences, but you just have to want it so bad to where you're willing to do what it takes to get it.
Now, Charlotte, in your opinion, what's the difference between following your dreams and stepping out on faith?
I believe they're basically the same. It's all in wording, but following your dreams is more of doing what you're passionate about and using it to make a difference in the world. It's bigger than yourself, whereas stepping out on faith is where you say, okay, I want this new job. I'm going to step out on faith, and I'm going to quit this job and go look for my job, or I want to move, and I want to move to another state, and I'm just going to step out on faith that when I get there, everything's going to work out. And I think that is what stepping out on faith means for me. And following your dreams is more of a lifetime goal. Stepping out on faith is just momentarily. But following your dreams, that takes a lifetime, and it is a process And it is believing in yourself when no one else believes in you, which could be said the same for stepping out on faith too, because when you're stepping out on faith, you're doing something that seems impossible really to yourself and also to others around you. So just like the dream, so they're pretty much one and the same, except following your dreams is just, it's more personal, and it's something that you really have to create the opportunities. You have to seek out what it is that you want to do. You have to believe in it, and you have to be passionate about it. You have to educate yourself about it. So I do think they're one and the same, but they're just different things. It's like a fruit. It's like a green apple and a red apple. They're both apples. They're just different color apples with a little different taste.
Within everything in life, we look for investments. And reading message 108, what will you feel will be the most investment I will gain in my life out of it?
I believe you're going to gain the interpersonal skills that you need to understand yourself better so that you can be a better person, so that you're sending better energy out into the world. And that better energy is going to come back to you and the things that you want and the things that you're manifesting. And also, it makes you, this book is an honest look at how you feel about yourself, like your ideas. Like, are you a humble person? If you're not, how do you become humble? I teach those skills in the book. I feel like we hear about this stuff, being grateful, how to be grateful. A lot of people don't know how to be grateful. For them, it's just a saying, something you just hear when you go to church on Sunday morning or Bible study. But being grateful means being thankful for what you have. You know, we spend so much time asking for things. Most of the times we have what we want, but we're still asking because we're not grateful for what we want. So once you learn how to be grateful, once you learn how to be humble, don't take things personal, be a blessing, then everything that you want is going to come to you. Everything that you're manifesting for yourself, for your life, for your children's life, for your family's life, that's going to come to you. But you have to get right within first before you can receive that. So I'm preparing you to receive that. I'm showing you how to receive that. I'm teaching you how to receive that. And I'm teaching you what to do so that you can receive that, so that you can be a happier person. Because I realize that not a lot of people are happy. You know, I'm blessed. I was born with a happy gene. You know, I realized that about 3 or 4 years ago, that I was just born with a happy gene. So regardless of what's going on, I'm always able to see the positive point of it. So that's what I'm teaching in this book. That's what I want people to walk away from this book, that they were put here for a reason to do something that's not just going to bless them or their family, but it's going to bless a legion of people.
And your next book, The Kissing Flight Attendant, tell the audience a little about that and what made you want to write that book.
So this book, The Kissing Flight Attendant, that goes along with the message 108, doing what God put you here to do, what you're passionate about. My parents would always send us down south for the summertime, and I just remember the flight attendants on the flight. They were just always so nice. They were happy. They were smiling, and they just looked so pretty in their uniforms, and they made a difference. They always comforted me when I was a little nervous or anxious about flying alone or with my sister. And I just thought, I want to do that. I want to be that person. And I became a flight attendant, and I noticed that so many people would say, oh, I wanted to be a flight attendant, or I want to be a flight attendant. How do I do it? And once I started, it was such a competitive process. And I just always felt this need to teach people how to do it, because so many people would not pass the interviews. And so I just said, I'm going to write a book about it. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to take my reader from the very beginning to when they say, I want to be a flight attendant, they click on that computer and start the interview, to the interview process, to the corporate interview process, to training, to probation. I'm going to take you through the whole thing, all the steps. I have a glossary in the back of the book that has all the terminology about the aviation industry. And I also tell stories about what it is to be on the road. I was really blessed to where I worked with the commercial airlines, American Airlines, and then I worked with the charter airline. So I got to see both sides of aviation, and I tell stories of both sides of aviation. So this book came out of my passion for aviation, my passion for being a flight attendant, and my mission as a motivator to teach people that want to be a flight attendant how to do it.
Now, I know I got a question from an individual who emailed me, and they wanted to ask this question. In your book, The Kissing Flight Attendant, do you discuss being in relationship while being a flight attendant, and how important is trust in a relationship for a flight attendant?
I do not discuss relationships too much in the book, but I do know that it is important that you have a solid, trusting relationship, because you are gone on the road, and that person needs to understand that you are just working. It is a job at the end of the day. You are working, and so they need to be able to trust you, and you, as the flight attendant, need to be able to trust them also. I mean, I have heard plenty of conversations while in the galley with other flight attendants, and their partner does not trust them, and they're explaining what they did last night, who they were with, and it can be a problem. So it is important that you do have a solid relationship. And a lot of flight attendants are single because of that. And honestly, that is why I eventually got out of the business, because I did want to have a solid relationship, and I did want to be home more. But that is something that does happen. You do get people that end up getting divorced, and one thing too about that is that when I do tell the history of flight attendant in the book, and there was a point when it first started out where women couldn't be married. You couldn't be married. You couldn't have children. If you did get married, then you would be terminated, because they knew that eventually you were going to leave.
So I know that had to been very important, because I know that had to create some problems as far as the relationship and your work habit. And they had to bring it to the job.
You know, if you have a trusting partner. When I first started flying, I was married, and he was great. There was never any stress, because we trusted each other. He trusted me. I trusted him. So we didn't have that issue. That wasn't an issue for us. But if you're dealing with somebody that is insecure, or even if you have those insecurities as the flight attendant, you're going to be stressed out, because you're always going to be calling home, wondering what's going on. You won't be able to focus. And it is the type of job where you need to focus, because you have lives in your hands. You can have up to 250 lives in your hand at one time. So there's no time to be focusing on what someone else is doing. That just takes too much energy. So it is important that if you are a flight attendant, you do want to become a flight attendant, and you are in a relationship, that you do talk about it, because there are people who don't want to be in relationships with flight attendants, because they have that insecurity of them being on the road, traveling, going to different states, different countries. So you just have to have a trusting relationship.
If things needed to be, a flight attendant was placed in a pie, how much would you place on appearance, attitude, ability to say no, especially the temptation, or other things?
Well, I would definitely say appearance is high. I'm going to give appearance 50%, just because when people see you, they want to see that you're confident. They want to see that you're professional. They want to see that you know what you're doing, because again, they're putting their lives in your hands when they get on that plane, because if there's an accident, you have to be able to get them off that plane. So they're looking at you like, can I trust this person with my life? Subconsciously, that's what they're thinking when they're getting on that plane. So appearance is everything. You want to have a clean cut look. I do talk about in the book, the first few chapters, about how you're expected to look when you're in the interview, what they're expecting to see when you go to the corporate office. So everything from your hair to your fingernails, they want to see what these look like. Everything needs to be neat and on point. So appearance is very important. Also, personality, that's a big part of it, because they want you to be able to communicate with your passengers. They want you to have an attitude where people can come ask you a question if they want to, or and being empathetic. Some people are scared to fly, they're terrified to fly. You have to understand that, and you have to be able to relax them, have them be relaxed and let them know that everything's going to be okay. So that's important. So you have dress, appearance, you have personality, and you also have intelligence. Intelligence is highly important when you're becoming a flight attendant. And I do talk about this in the book. So everything I'm sharing with you is in the book. Intelligence is important because when you're taking tests, when you go to training, you have to pass everything with a 90% or higher. If you don't, you will be on the next plane smoking. I've seen it happen, and it's not a comforting thing. So your confidence level, that's a piece of the pie too. That has to be there too, because you have to be confident in knowing that I'm going to retain this information. I'm going to pass this test. I'm going to succeed. I'm going to graduate. So there's a lot of components that would go into that pie of making a flight attendant. But those are the top ones. You got to have that appearance. You got to have that intelligence. You have to be a good listener, because if there's an emergency, you may have 2 minutes to hear what the captain's evacuation plan is. And also the ability to lead, because the captain may not be able to give you a plan. You may have to come up with a plan. There may be an emergency in your section of the plane that you have to handle right then and there. So it's important to be a good listener as well.
Okay, we're running short on time. I got one more question. After hearing about a plane crash in the news, how did the news affect you mentally about your job as a flight attendant and getting back on that plane?
That's an excellent question. One of my classmates who graduated with me from American Airlines as a flight attendant, she was actually in one of the planes that went into the New York Trade Center. So that shook me up some. And then I was scheduled to actually fly the plane, not fly the plane, I'm not a pilot, but to be a flight attendant on one of the planes that went into the Pentagon. So it did definitely affect me personally, to where I was shook up about it. But at the end of the day, when you're doing what you love to do, what you're passionate about doing, that's a chance that you're willing to take. Going into this business, that's a chance that that may happen. But you're confident in your training and in knowing what to do when that happens. But it's just like driving the street. You just don't know if you're going to get into an accident. And it's like that with the plane. You just put on your stockings and put on your pumps and get on that plane and do what you got to do. And that's going to override everything. That's going to take away that fear. Okay. So it's just a hazard of the job.
Charlotte, we're running out of time. If someone wanted to get in contact with you, how would they go about doing that?
They can reach out to me on my Facebook, Charlotte Crumley Arrington. They can message me there. They can also reach out to me on Instagram at Expect a Miracle 108. And also the Kissing Flight Attendant at the Kissing Flight Attendant. I have Facebook pages for both of those. You can buy my books, The Message 108, and also the Kissing Flight Attendant on Amazon.com, LegacyBooks.com, which is an awesome Black bookstore, and also BarnesandNobles.com for all my Target shoppers. You can get it on Target.com. And also you can Google me. Just Google Charlotte Crumley Arrington. There'll be about 7 pages of me that will pop up with my contact information on there.
Thank you, Charlotte, for coming on the show, and look to hear more about you and your books and just everything. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching the show, and you be encouraged.